All set.
Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Bhunatu, Saha Vidyanam Karavai, Teja Sridharitamansu, Mari Vishawai, Om Shanti. May Brahman protect us. May he guide us in the strength and right understanding. May love and harmony be with us all. Om peace, peace, peace.
Swami, can we move you just a little bit this way?
So, good evening. Our topic is love and compassion in spiritual life. So, when we first come to Vedanta, many people, especially in the West, think of it as purely a philosophical tradition, full of metaphysical speculation, deep inquiry, profound statements about the nature of the self, and so forth. And of course, it's all that, but we don't want to miss the essence of living. And it's not just a philosophy, but it's supposed to be also a way of life and a way of being. And that way of being is rooted in love and compassion. And it's not just sentimental love or emotional dependency, but it's love that arises when we understand the core truth of Vedanta, that there is an underlying oneness in the entire universe, and we are that. So our true nature is the same nature as the nature of Brahman. Brahman is pure existence, consciousness, and bliss, and we are that same unlimited, undivided, infinite, and unchanging reality. And that same reality is shared by all beings. And so all the Mahavakyas, the great sayings of the Upanishads, point to that, such as Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, all this is verily Brahman, or Tattvamasi, thou art that, or Aham Brahmasmi, you are Brahman, or I am Brahman. So if this is true, then the perceived boundaries that we usually see between ourselves and others is some sort of misunderstanding. It's useful for navigating the world, but as a spiritual practice, we see that it create some problems. So what we want to do is try to figure out ways to help us dissolve those boundaries, to help to reduce our sense of ego and reduce our sense of spontaneous feelings of oneness, which can then be interpreted as being loving and compassionate. So it would be just like if you injure one of your hands, the other hand has to come in to help because they're both part of you. Similarly, compassion should work the same way. If we see someone in need, then we spontaneously reach out because we don't see a difference between us and the other person. Of course, that also depends on your ability to help. There's a problem with certain kinds of compassion where the so-called do-gooders actually do harm thinking they're doing good because they don't truly connect with the other person. There's always a danger that we think other people need exactly what we need, and that's not necessarily the case. So compassion has to be done carefully in order not to actually offend the other person or to belittle them or make them feel like they're less than and need of sympathy and so on. And thinking that they need what you thought they need might not be the right thing. But what we want to do in Vedanta, and we have many talks on this, I'm sure, from many different speakers, is to integrate both the sort of bhakti aspect and the jnana aspect. Jnana is the aspect of knowledge, discrimination, study of scripture, contemplating the great truths, and then the path of bhakti, which and cultivating that love for the divine. And it's when you cultivate the love for the divine, you end up cultivating love for all beings. So we want to integrate those two. And really, love is the integrator. Love softens our sense of ego. It dissolves that resistance that we might have for others. And it makes us receptive to the various Vedantic truths. It's often said that, and Sri Ramakrishna would point out, that the pure jnani tends to be kind of dry without some sort of love and devotion. That sort of practice can easily become rather dry. And of course, both the Bhagavad Gita and Swami Vivekananda emphasize the harmony of the different yogas, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, as a complete path. So devotion becomes integrated with all of those, and love becomes a part of it. You love the scriptures. You love the seers that gave us the scriptures. You love doing work for others, working unselfishly. And you love your meditation practice because it puts you in touch with that true part of yourself. So then compassion, the other part of the equation, is a natural self-expression again of this natural feeling of love and oneness with others. And it's not pity, it's not compensation, but it's a recognition of the same consciousness that look out through others' eyes, that's looking out through your eyes. So it's not just necessarily an idea of thinking, oh, I should help somebody because it's the right thing to do and I want to look good, I want to make other people think that I'm a good person. It should be. Their suffering really isn't separate from mine, so how could I not help? How can I truly connect to their needs so that I can help in the most appropriate way? So all the great teachers, including Vivekananda and Krishna and Ramana Maharshi and Ramakrishna and so forth, all of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna were owing with compassion because the unity everywhere. When you see the unity and the oneness everywhere, you can't help but be compassionate in the right sense of the term. And Swami Vivekananda's famous saying of serve Jiva as Shiva is bedrock of karma yoga, spiritual practice, says it all. Because to serve others becomes serving God. To love others is to love God. And to uplift others is to uplift oneself, because you are one with that other person. So in Vedanta, love and compassion aren't just the outcome of realization, although that is also true, but they're also the practices that prepare us for realization. So it's something that we can use to help us get closer and closer to the goal. We need to purify our minds, and our minds tend to be blocked from spiritual progress by a few things. Number one is the ego. The ego that thinks I'm the only one that's important, and how can I benefit from everything? And the mind that's filled with things that ego tends to get it into, things like anger and jealousy and resentment, things that we talked about last month, some of the negative emotions, jealousy and envy and anger. Well, cultivating love purifies emotions. It loosens the grip of the ego. It helps to overcome such negative emotions. So compassion expands with our sense of identity. The more we can expand our sense of identity, the more our sense of compassion will expand. And each act of kindness stretches the boundaries of the self until they dissolve completely. And again, you don't feel like you have to do everything for everybody. We're not all equipped to do everything for everybody. So, but you can try to figure out what the person needs that you can actually provide in a nice environment. And that's the best way. No point in trying to offer something which you're clumsy at or no good at, or that you don't have to begin with. So we have to be practical. Now, devotion can also be seen as a type of surrender, complete surrender to the Lord, so complete surrender to the false sense of the ego being in control. When we surrender to the divine, we're actually just making space for the grace of the divine to be to fill us. Grace has to have some space to operate. We have to clear our mental space and our emotional space in order for the grace to enter in. So these practices will help to prepare our mind for the highest knowledge. It's like plowing a field or cultivating a garden, getting rid of the weeds in the garden in order to prepare for planting the flowers and the vegetables that you want. So rid of the negative emotions and cultivate the positive emotions. Now, we're also in Vedanta taught to be detached from things, but that doesn't mean coldness and indifference. It means being detached from the results. So you try to help somebody, and maybe you just didn't do it right. You meant to do it right, but didn't work out. Maybe they weren't receptive. So you have to be detached from the results. And you don't want to be, if it does come out right, you don't want to be looking around for applause and acclamation from other people. So detachment means detachment from the results. Detachments in the sense of not clinging to things. Knowing when to just let go of a situation when it doesn't seem to be appropriate for you to try to help someone. In order to be fully more loving and able to go on to the next task, we have to be able to detach from the previous tasks, detach from our fears of whether it might go right or wrong, being detached from possession and expectations, feeling like this person's going to be indebted to us, and that type of thing. Those are the kind of things we want to be detached from. The more we detach from this ego sense, the more grace and love from the divine can flow in. So basically, detachment is removing the obstacles, and what remains is our true nature, which is a loving nature, a blissful nature, Satchidananda, consciousness, existence, and bliss. So when we see someone, we can make Vedanta practical here. We can pause and remember, I'm interacting with this person, and this person is another expression of the same consciousness that I am expressing. It might seem real different from the way it expresses itself, but we have to try to remember that the foundational root of this is the same consciousness. They might be very friendly, they might be very disagreeable, but it's the same consciousness, because this consciousness is manifesting in a world of multiplicity and differences, pairs of opposites. So for every person you meet that's agreeable, you'll probably meet one that's disagreeable. And you have to remember it's the same consciousness coming through all of these different beings. So if we're having a conversation, remember to be patient, remember to be receptive, remember to listen as much as you speak, to truly listen so that you can understand the other person. Many times we feel that we want to be in charge and we're going to help this person, and so we sort of blab on and on and on, and we don't give them a chance to actually express themselves. And so that's not really being very kind and understanding. So we also want to cultivate a general friendliness towards all beings. If someone's being disagreeable, in order to change their attitude, it's best to try to be as agreeable as possible. Not that you have to agree with their negativity, but simply try to not get angry and react with a lot of vehemence and demands and so forth. That tends to simply escalate the problem. So service becomes sacred when we can do it without seeking reward or recognition. Now, another aspect of love that's really very important and sometimes forgotten about is self-love and self-compassion. Now, we keep talking about the ego being the big problem, but that doesn't mean you're not supposed to love your true self. You can have compassion for your lower self, which is the way it seems to be manifesting. So if you can't be kind to yourself, your kindness to others is going to be limited. So in order to practice kindness to yourself, you have to realize that you're living here in this realm of Maya. You've been given certain qualities inherent in your particular personality. You're working on manifesting greater and greater spiritual qualities, but you have to be forgiving of the times when those don't manifest. And so that's an important aspect, because you love your true nature, true divine nature, and you are forgiving and compassionate of any of your weaknesses. Doesn't mean you're not going to try to improve, but it just means that any past actions can be forgiven and forgotten. And again, the ultimate goal here is to realize that true self, that Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss, and being conscious of that true nature. And this bliss isn't a kind of pleasure type of bliss. It's a fullness of love. It's a resting in our true nature. It's being effortlessly flowing in this expression of unity awareness. So you can see that trying to cultivate love and compassion is really the path and the practice and the fruit of Vedanta practice. And it involves all the yogas. Involves Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raja Yoga. So Jnana Yoga can help us to try to understand the oneness intellectually, but we also want to live it by expressing love and compassion for others. It should be a way of acting. And it should be a way to let the heart become the vastness of the true self. Now, it's said that the love for our individual body is what stands in the way of our realization. But that's, again, the ego sense, loving the body as a physical object and feeling proud that you're beautiful, or that you're smart, or that you're strong, or something of that nature. But having love for the body as a temple of the divine and giving it what it needs to be a effective temple of the divine is the way to go. Because ultimately, you're not the body, just like when you come here, you're not the physical space, but we've come in here to a mini temple. So you're not the body, you're not the mind, you're not your emotions. All of those things are fleeting. And if you think about it, the body changes. If you look at pictures in your old high school yearbook or your college yearbook, or family photos taken for Christmas cards or something of that nature, you see that you don't look the same. The body is changing all the time, slowly. You may not notice it day to day, but you're going to notice it from year to year. And the mind, my goodness, it changes from moment to moment. One moment you can be in a good mood, and something can happen, and all of a sudden you're in a bad mood. So your emotions change rapidly as well. So all of these things cannot be the true unchanging you. The true unchanging you is the Atman. And all of these other things are just temporary things that are clinging around the Atman. They're sort of hanging on to the Atman. But the true essence, the thing that's unchanging, is the Atman. And one effective way of thinking about that is thinking of the witness. Who is it that has noticed that the body has changed? Who is it that has noticed that the mind changes? Who is it that notices that your moods change? Well, that's your witness consciousness inside. And that's what's the same in all of these. And that's what doesn't change. That witness consciousness is connected to the ultimate consciousness. Now, I've collected a lot of quotes from the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Some of the time I noted who it was, sometimes I didn't, but just know that they're all direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. One of them said that there will come distaste for worldly enjoyments when your love for God increases. So those two tend to go together. And just seeking out pleasure seeking in the world, if you can reduce your taste for those kinds of worldly enjoyments, your love will increase. If you allow your love to be centered on any particular special object, if you're particularly attached to any particular person or any particular one activity or any particular one place, then that type of love tends to bind us. And the way to liberation and peace is to not get attached to any one thing. You can love different people, you can love different places, but know that this is all temporary. It's not going to last forever. And be ready to allow it to go away when it's time for it to go away. You may not be in the same place, you may not be around the same people, you may not be able to do the same activities. And so you might enjoy those now, but just be prepared that at some point those things may not be available to you. Now, an interesting phenomenon with emotions, and that is that we tend to pick emotions up from other people. If you go into a room and there are several people that are grumpy and arguing and so forth, it's difficult to keep a good mood going. And similarly, if you go into a situation where people are feeling very devotional and singing, having a great time singing bhajans or meditating, then that feels inviting to you, and you feel like you would like to join into the singing, or you would like to be sitting quietly and meditating. If a mother sees the child unhappy and crying, maybe because its diaper is wet or something, she immediately knows that the baby is suffering. She connects to that suffering, and she does something about it. And so holy company is a very effective way of generating love for God. Surround yourself with people that love God, and your devotion to God will grow. If you surround yourself with people that enjoy wine tasting, and then you go to a dinner party and that's all they talk about, that's going to rub off on you unless you're shielded very well in those kinds of things. This is, rather typical. You get into certain social circles, and all they talk about is some worldly affair like that, or all the times they went gambling, or all the times they did something else. And so, worldly things. Swami Atmavisdyananda said that it was from compassion that spiritual ideas begin to grow. Compassion is the root of all virtues and happiness, and arrogance is the root of hell or narrowness and misery. Swami Shivananda says everything is accomplished if a person succeeds in installing the Lord in his heart. Special efforts at moral perfection are then unnecessary. He spontaneously expresses qualities like truthfulness, compassion, and so on. Now, of course, it can also work the other way by working on truthfulness and compassion and other virtues. Then it'll be easier to install the Lord in your heart. So they kind of go together. How to control the mind. The method of controlling the mind is by seriously watching it for some time. It can be done both by love and by discipline. Whether you can use bhakti yoga or dhyana yoga, according to circumstances. The mind should be under your control. Should not be allowed to ride on you, for then the tables will be turned. So by controlling the mind, by focusing on a loving relationship with your chosen deity or your favorite spiritual personage, you can help not thinking about other things. You can control the mind to think about what you want to have it thinking on. And in the Gita, it says that the means for bringing the fickle mind under control are dispassion and practice. And of course, dispassion would be dispassion for their worldly pleasures, and practice would be spiritual practices. The more you love God, the more the mind will come under your control. When someone has renounced all worldly cravings and regards God as his own, God is very near. Such a person binds God to him with the fetters of love. So we can use whatever symbol of God we like to use as a symbol for loving the totality. As you love God, then you're loving all beings and all things. And that becomes a universal love. But you might think of it as being rather particularized. And in some traditions it becomes that very sectarian love for a particular aspect of God. But the way we recommend is to realize that all aspects of God are relevant in any one aspect. And so you can pick any one aspect, and that leads you to a universal love. All the trouble is due to love being centered on specific objects. And when one is at the point of death, death will be feared if one is still attached to particular objects. But death is no more terrible when there is no attachment. So keep out all attachments. And Sri Ramakrishna used to say that a man will surely attain God if he possesses in an intense degree 3 kinds of love. The love of a chaste wife feels for her husband, the attraction of the worldly man for the world, and the attachment of a miser towards his hoarded wealth. This means that the mind must be one-pointed and completely free of all desires, but the desire to know and love God. It is said that yogis can keep undesirable thoughts under control. They keep undesirable thoughts down in the germ state by smothering them beneath thoughts of an opposing nature. Thus they conquer evil tendencies such as hatred with love, anger, and kindness, and so forth. What makes the mind impure? Desires. So free the mind of desires, and at once you will become pure. A person, however, has no idea of God can never get rid of that desire. The lover of God sees that instead of bringing enjoyments, these desires are the sources of misery. He understands that God alone, that in God alone, he can find the satisfaction of all desires, for he is infinite bliss, and all other pleasures are finite and perishable. When you think of all the great dramas in the world and how 99% of them focus on some sort of love, and how many of them end in tragedy. All grand operas are that way. There's some sort of love between 2 people, and they all end up dying in the end, like Romeo and Juliet or something. So when you have this infatuated love for one object, it almost always ends in misery. And it's important to remember this goes the other way around too. God is the lover of the devotees. He is satisfied with the love and devotion alone. He reveals himself wherever there are yearning and love. So in other words, he's not impressed by how many scriptures you've memorized, or how many books you've read, or how many debates you've won. He's impressed by how much love and devotion you have for the Lord. To make mankind your own by loving all, that is the real jnana and the real bhakta of this age. And this is an important one to remember for people that are supervising others, or for parents and so forth. The disciple should obey through love and not through fear. That latter would be slavery. And I remember when Swami Atmavisdyananda was our assistant for a short time in Hollywood, and then was assigned to the Gretz Center. He asked Swami Atmavisdyananda for advice, and he said, "Rule them with love." Now, while it is true that every divine incarnation in God, man embodied all the great ideals, yet each one emphasized one particular ideal. For instance, Sri Chaitanya was the very embodiment of love. Just as congealed water takes the form of ice, so congealed love took the form of Sri Chaitanya. So let's talk a little bit about Chaitanya, since his birthday was yesterday. And the celebration is called Holi, H-O-L-I, not H-O-L-Y. And it's described as a festival of colors, but it's really a core of relationship, the relationship between the soul and the divine, the intense love for the divine. The playful throwing of colors reflects something much deeper than just playing and getting everybody covered with different colors. It's the longing for the human heart to be touched and transformed. In a story between Radha and Krishna, where color became a language of affection. Krishna, feeling shy about his dark complexion, playfully colors Radha's face so that they might look alike. And in that moment, holy became a metaphor. When the divine touches the soul becomes colored with divine qualities, joy, compassion, and love. So the throwing of colors is really celebrating that being covered with divine qualities, represented by the different colors. Chaitanya was born just 6 years before Columbus sailed the ocean blue, 1486. And he transformed holy from a seasonal celebration into a spiritual experience. He taught that the essence of life was divine love, or prema, and that this love is awakened through the chanting of holy names and serving all beings with humility. And it's interesting to know that in the beginning, he was a great scholar. He was one of these people who knew all the scriptures backwards and forwards and win debates against anybody. And then he had this transformation, realizing that that was not the be-all and end-all of religion, but it was actually experiencing love for the divine and connecting with the divine through love. He emphasized that divine love is not earned, it is received with an open heart. So it's not something that you have to earn through a certain amount of spiritual practice, but you have to practice keeping your heart open to the grace of God. Another important thing, it was that he embraced people of every background. You know, there were many caste distinctions and so forth in India, but Chaitanya and people of all backgrounds, declaring that the love of God is everyone's birthright. You know, there were restrictions on who could learn the scriptures and all sorts, and who could perform different rites and so forth. But he wanted something that everyone could experience, and this ecstatic love for God was one of them. So he promoted it, doing kirtan, singing spiritual songs, spiritual dancing, tears of longing, showing that spirituality is not dry philosophy, but a living, breathing relationship. Now, the danger of that is that sometimes over-emotionalism. Some people think that it's just emotionalism, and they can kind of rouse up their emotions, and yet it's more of a just show of emotions, and the deep connection isn't there. So you have to guard against that danger. Every path has a danger. So anyway, that's a brief summary of Chaitanya's teachings. It's not just an emotional state. It's a state where the ego is softened and where the heart expands and where the world becomes a place to serve, not a place to conquer. We could learn some of that, couldn't we? It reminds us that love dissolves boundaries between people and community and between the soul and God. All right, I want to save this last 20 minutes for a little guided meditation. So we could reduce the lights a little. And so just get yourself in a nice, comfortable position, hands resting softly, your eyes closed. And take in a nice deep breath and gently exhale. Breathe in again nice and deeply. And then breathe out nice and gently. Allow the body to settle in. And with each cycle of breath, allow various parts to relax. Neck and shoulders is relaxing. The arms and hands and fingers are relaxing. And the torso is relaxing. And the hips and legs are relaxing. Feel that the mind is getting quiet. Bring your attention to the simple fact that you're aware. Notice your awareness. And with each awareness, allow it to rise and then let it dissolve away. Whether it be a sound, or a sensation of the body, or a thought. So with each exhalation, allow whatever awareness arose in the mind to pass away, making room for another one perhaps. Focus on you as the witnessing presence. Bring that pure awareness, untouched, spacious, silent. The awareness is already there and will always be there. That witness consciousness is the true self, the existence, consciousness, bliss of the Atman. It is one with Brahman, the infinite reality. Repeat to yourself, I am this awareness, unlimited awareness. Repeat to your feel how awareness has no edges. It doesn't stop at the skin or the sense organs. Feel how spacious that is, how unconfined. Repeat to yourself, my awareness is untouched by anything. My witness consciousness connects me with the consciousness of all beings. This connection to all beings, this recognition of unity is as the outcome of love. Love is the natural outcome of recognizing this unity of consciousness. Bring your attention to the heart center, that inner space of warmth and connection, and feel that this infinite connection to consciousness allows compassion to flow effortlessly. Imagine that this inner consciousness is symbolized by golden light glowing in the heart center. And with each breath in, it grows brighter. Like a fire grows brighter, using the bellows to breathe air onto the fire. That golden light is glowing stronger and stronger, so that warmth and connection of compassion grows further and further. Repeat to yourself, my true name. Now bring your mind to yourself, just as you are. Picture yourself seated before you like a dear friend. And notice any judgments, any thoughts, your efforts, your struggles, your imperfections. And just let those pass like clouds being blown away in the sky. Feel that golden light in the heart center is like the sun blowing away the clouds. Silently repeat, may I be free from fear. May I be at peace. May I know my true nature as love itself. Feel yourself as forgiven for any imperfections. And feel the divine love embracing you. And let your love expand to your immediate loved ones, family and friends that you feel especially close to. And recognize that same awareness looking through their eyes that looks through yours. And let that golden light expand to include them. And silently think, may we be at peace, free from suffering, and know our true nature. Now bring your mind to people that you have no particularly strong feeling for, that you just meet casually. Perhaps the clerks at a store, the people cleaning an office building, maintaining the landscaping, fixing the roads, people you see but don't really interact with particularly perhaps. And see them in your awareness. Know that their awareness and consciousness is connected to your awareness and consciousness. Feel golden light expanding through all the people that you happen to see, and send them the thoughts that they can be at peace, free from fear, and know their true nature. And now allow that golden light to expand to the whole community, the whole planet, all beings, human, animal, plant, seen and unseen. See them as like waves on one big infinite ocean of consciousness, that we're all interconnected through that ocean. All beings are expressions of the one. And when illusion of separateness dissolves, love is what remains. Now, as you take some nice deep breaths, notice feelings in your hands and your toes. Notice the sounds in the room. And offer gratitude to the light of awareness within. And make the affirmation, I will carry this understanding into my life. I will meet others as myself. I choose compassion rooted in truth. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And as we move forward, walk in the knowledge that love is your true nature. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanastu. Oh, when you feel ready, we can offer flowers.
Can I make some announcements of things
Yes,
coming
yeah, oh yes, I think, especially about Swami Atmavisdyananda
Yeah.
coming.
I want to make sure everybody does have any problems with that. So we have Swami, of course, we're so excited about this. We want to make sure we keep on repeating it. Swami Atmavisdyananda ji is going to be here. This is the first time in 3 years he's actually is able to schedule back time here. But he's here on Wednesday the 18th and Thursday the 19th. So Wednesday, we're going to have a talk here at the same time. We'll start at 6 p.m. with an RT, and then at 7 p.m. Maharaj's talk. And we're batting around some topics to give you guys, but it should be very interesting. And then on the 19th, if those of you who have a desire to have initiation, Maharaj will have an initiation on the morning of the 19th. And if you're interested in that, just see me and I'll be able to get you. You might need to do that. And then on the same time, same bat time, same bat channel, remember? So at 6 p.m. we'll have our RT, and 7 p.m. Maharaj will give another talk. And that is so exciting for that. But wait, there's more. If you thought that's exciting. We also have Swami Atmavisdyananda ji coming at the end of the month. So he'll be here on the 28th, Saturday the 28th and the 29th. And I'll be sending out, I already sent out schedules of this. I'll send a detailed schedule of Maharaj here this week. So you guys will start having that. And again, if you guys are interested in initiation, just let me know. And then every Sunday, we still do, we could bat this around, but I think 4 p.m. we start our puja. And then at 5 p.m. we have a talk. And we've been covering the Sri Krishna's Lila at Dakshineswar. And of course, we get a call from Pranabji as well, so we get a blessing from Ma to boot. So that's kind of nice. So that's our schedule.
Good.
Okay.